So before we get into Oscar stuff, two very unfortunate obits that we need to make mention of.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first really, really big one that everybody is aware of is Albert Finney.
Yeah, man. We had an interesting conversation in our emails. You, me, Ray Green,
and
Mark Kaiser, and really interesting where we all went on that day.
Different movies.
I went straight to Miller's Crossing.
Yeah.
I went straight to Miller's Crossing.
And I went to Tom Jones.
Yeah,
yeah.
And Ray, that wonderful movie, the one based on the director's life, his divorce.
Oh, Shoot the Moon. Alan Parker's Shoot the Moon.
Yeah, Ray went to Shoot the Moon, which is a beautiful movie.
It's a fantastic movie.
So it's very interesting. I even spent a little time talking about Wolfen.
I know.
Underrated.
And Alonzo, our dear colleague Alonzo Duralde, who, of course, is the Christmas expert, very often does things for us at Christmas time. He went right to Scrooge. Anthony Newley musical.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah. No, it's that's the great thing about Finney is that he's not that kind of star. You know, if you talk about, for example, a Cary Grant, or a Humphrey Bogart, or a whoever, a Dustin Hoffman. I mean, when you start getting all the iconic parts, you just go, well, there was this, and there was that, and there was this, and there was that, and you roll through the top 10, and everybody kind of hits them, and we all know them. But with Albert Finney, it's like this joy of discovery, and you're like, I forgot he was in that.
Yeah,
I forgot he was in that too. He was in Erin Brockovich. That's right.
The dresser is just absolutely. I mean, these exquisite films, and note not a one of them. That old gangster, in Miller's Crossing is about as far from that diva actor in The Dresser as you can possibly get.
It's true.
It's
true.
Amazing thing.
He was he was a rare talent. He had he was the original choice for Lawrence of Arabia. Brando technically was the original choice, but Brando was the original choice for everything at the time. And Brando, of course, chose to go. I don't think that was ever really a serious consideration. It was just, we have a movie. It's expensive. Who's going to star in it? Brando. Yeah. That was just what you did in the 60s. But he went on to do Mutiny on the Bounty. And then it was all about Albert Finney, who was a real up-and-comer. And they shot for 4 days at Borehamwood Studios, just outside London, with Albert Finney in full dress, doing Lawrence. 4 days. Jeffrey Unsworth, the cinematographer of 2001 and Superman, shot for those 4 days. And all of those screen tests are at the National Film Archive outside London. It's the only place you can go to see them.
Wow.
And, you got to take a train about an hour outside of London to get there. So it's the most requested thing at the British National Film Archives, the BFI archives. And only a handful of people have ever seen them, So it's kind of something special. One of these days, I'm going to make a pilgrimage and do that.
Worth the trip.
Yeah, definitely worth the trip.
Finney.
But Finney didn't want to be a movie star, he said. And Sam Spiegel allegedly wanted to lock him into a big contract. And next thing you know, we're better for it because he went to do Tom Jones, and we got Peter O'Toole out of the deal.
It's an interesting thing, though. I mean, because he's an actor from that certain era. Yeah. Those angry young men.
Yep.
And I suppose he was a little bit younger than Burton and Bates and the sort of hard charging drinking guys.
Yeah.
He wasn't one of those guys.
No. Which included Richard Harris and all those. Yeah, they were all and O'Toole was one of those guys too. He was
O'Toole was one of those guys. Yeah.
He was a little older than Finney too. So he wasn't really part of that, but he knew all those guys. He was friends with them. He was just too young to go to the pub with them.
Yeah, but somehow we lump him in with those guys.
Yeah.
Of that era, but no, actually, he's almost a generation younger than those guys.
The other interesting thing is that the Academy Awards were a strictly American phenomenon for years and years and years and years. Now, there were foreign films, British films, that got nominated, right? There was even, like a French film on a couple of occasions. I think Grand Illusion, was kind of made a breakthrough in its era, but it wasn't until 1948, Laurence Olivier's Hamlet, that was the first British film, the first non-American film that won Best Picture at the Academy Awards, won it outright, and Best Actor went to Laurence Olivier, and that's because he was Olivier. No British film was able to achieve that feat again until 1963, Tom Jones and Albert Finney. That's a distinctive thing.
Yeah.
The second British film, the first British film since an Olivier film, to win Best Picture and capture Best Actor, and Albert Finney did it, and he was a young man. And you know why it was? Because he had a twinkle in his eye.
Yeah.
He was that naughty boy.
Yeah.
And everybody loved him for it.
Yeah, all that hair, but he wasn't a movie star.
Wasn't a movie star.
Wasn't a movie star. Was not a gigantic sort of a stage presence as Olivier had been some years before. Man. Yeah.
Well, we also this last couple of weeks we also lost Nick Redman. Nick Redman was one of the founders and principals of Twilight Time. We talk about Twilight Time movies here all the time. And he did tons of audio commentaries, both for Twilight Time movies and outside of Twilight Time. A lover of film, a profoundly knowledgeable film historian and scholar, and his untimely passing is really, really it hurts. They just don't make them like that anymore. Yeah. So Twilight Time will continue, and they have a lovely tribute to him on their site. But the passing of Nick Redman from Twilight Time is really a very serious loss. Also worth noting, Epix totally unexpectedly just launched their own SVOD service for $5.99 a month. People will see if that competes with anything. I don't know anybody who says, "Oh, I really want to add Epix to my Amazon and Netflix accounts with Disney and Warner coming down the pike."
Yeah.
Epix is an MGM service. MGM doesn't have a lot of deep pockets these days, so I don't know how that's going to fly. But you know, it's been around for a while, so there's that. Tim, let's hit the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Cinematography, editing, hair and makeup, and live action short will not be presented during the actual. I mean, they're going to be presented during the flow of the show, but you don't get to watch them. They'll do it during commercial breaks.
Yeah, you're on YouTube and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Guillermo del Toro said it best. You know, I mean, these particularly two crafts that are not a part of the written tradition or the theatrical tradition. It's perfectly ludicrous. Cinematography. It's actually what the movies are made out of.
Right?
So, you know, that's kind of crazy. And not that I would suggest that they remove sound or sound editing or something, but we must note that there was a long run of cinema history before we even added sound to the mix.
Here's the thing.
Movies were movies without talking.
I'm so disappointed in the Academy over this. I'm so disappointed because they own the show. They call the shots. They can walk. They can do whatever they want. And ABC are the ones who are pushing them around on this. And ABC says their show's too long. Yeah, you know what, ABC? You know why the show's too long? Because it has too many commercials. So here's a thought. They didn't used to air soccer games on network television because there are no commercial breaks. You know, the game has a flow. There's no timeouts like there are in football and everything else. You know, what are we going to do? Can't make money. Well, they figured out how to make money. They figured out because a lot of people watch soccer. So there's a way. So we can put a game on with only a halftime break, and you can have two 45-minute halves plus stoppage time and still make money off of advertising and sponsorship. You figure a way out.
Yeah.
How about this? How about not a commercial break every 15 minutes? How about you let the Oscar show just roll? You just let it roll. It's only 100 when you add up all the time that is actually taken up in the show for giving out awards. It's about 130 to 140 minutes. It's about a 2-hour show. So it's only a 2-hour show if you take the commercial breaks out. So find a way to make your money without those commercial breaks. How about that?
Yeah, be clever. Maybe this is the sort of thing that's really a bit of a lost leader for everyone. There are in media sometimes lost leaders. We don't make any money on this right now. Spectrum Television is paying $180 million for the Dodgers. They don't make $180 million. No, but it pays for it because it brings a whole bunch of other folks over there to that network for something else.
If every Transformer movie had lost money, that would have been a loss leader of, a few $1 billion, maybe let's say $3 or $4 billion, totally worthwhile to Paramount because it enabled them and all the toy and other manufacturers to make probably $30 billion in merchandise sales.
Merchandise, exactly.
So there are creative ways of getting around this.
Well, the Lego movies are doing it right now. They're doing it this week. Look, those movies are diminishing moneymakers every time they make one, but they sell a gazillion frickin' Legos.
If what you want is a 3-hour show, here's what I recommend. You want a 3-hour show? Okay. You have 24 categories that only need about, let's be generous, let's say about 140 minutes. 140 minutes to actually make to give out the awards. So 140 minutes for 24 categories. You want a 3-hour show? Okay, that's 180 minutes. That's 40 minutes worth of commercials. All right, so that's about 80 commercials. Or less if you want to give somebody a 60-second spot.
Yeah, which you should never do, by the way.
Okay, so figure out how much money, now that the show is manageable, are those spots worth?
And raise the prices.
And raise the prices.
There you go.
And there you go.
Yeah.
And now that's how you do this.
Yeah.
ABC isn't thinking creatively. They're just being jerks about this, and they're jerking the Academy around. The Academy is being cowardly, doesn't know what to do. Most popular film? No, that didn't stick. 10 nominees? That didn't stick. How about up to 10 nominees? That's kind of sticking because we finally got like Star is Born and Black Panther in there, some movies that people have seen. So okay, we'll hold on to that for a minute. How about Kevin Hart as a host? Oh no, that's not gonna work. How about no host? Okay, hold that idea. How about a shorter show? Let's put them. Let's put 4 categories. It's just they can't figure it out. They can't get it right.
Well, there's in terms of the actual show, there is some very weak producing that goes on in the show. I'm just talking about the actual producing of the show. So, for instance, and I've produced a few much smaller things, but the things that I would apply no matter what the scale, and frankly, at the scale of the Academy, these things would apply even better. So, for instance, we should never see anyone except for a winner walk up to a podium. No one who is presenting an award, who is about to say anything, never see those people walk to a podium. Conduct the show such that everyone who is going to speak is already standing in front of a microphone. Do away with all patter. Yeah. We shall do no patter, either written or improvised.
No.
The human standing at the microphone will smile and say, "Thank you very much. I'm Willem Dafoe." The nominees and go straight to it, and that's it. And we're not going to patter. We're not going to smile. We're going to do this thing.
That's it.
And that's it. And knock it out. All musical accompaniment.
Yeah.
All musical accompaniment should never be more than about 15 seconds.
Here you go.
About 15 seconds and you're the fuck out of there. Now, speeches. People are going to give their speeches, but now that you've gotten rid of every other little moment of wasted time, you can allow the people to do their speeches.
There you go.
You'll find that they'll need to get off that stage. They'll go through it really, really quickly.
They will. You know what? The one I always turn to is Audrey Hepburn when she accepted. It was, I guess, 1952 when she accepted her Best Actress for Roman Holiday. And that was a funky year because they were doing it in L.A. and in New York, right? So they were kind of bouncing around. And it's if you go onto YouTube and you watch it, it's really interesting because they had a film. Gary Cooper announces the nominees, but it was filmed ahead of time because he was shooting High Noon, right? So he's on High Noon, and they show the film, and he comes up and he reads the nominees. Oh, I don't have the winner. So you cut back to Donald O'Connor in L.A., who does a little Gary Cooper impersonation, just spontaneously ad-libs it. It's very funny. That real stiff way of talking. He reads the winner, Audrey Hepburn in New York. Cut to New York. She walks up. She's in tears. And she just says, "I want to thank everyone who's been so supportive of me. I love you very, very much." And she walks away.
And walk away.
It lasts like 15 seconds.
That took place on two coasts with taped material and live material.
Come on.
Now that's the way you produce a show.
That's the way you produce a show.
That's tight, man. That's
tight. We have computers and gear and all this stuff now and satellites. And they can't do it as well as they did 60 years ago. Come on.
Keep it tight. Don't worry about being funny. People who are naturally funny will be funny.
Yeah.
Do not ever try to make anyone who isn't naturally funny funny. No. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Get rid of the patter. Tighten it down. Put everybody in front of a microphone and knock that show out, man.
Yeah.
And that's the way you do it.
Yeah. They need to figure it out. They need they need you in the room. They need you to make that exact pitch. Anyway, all right. Well, we're going to move into DVDs and Blu-rays. We're going to move on in and start knocking this out. We got a bunch of kid vids, so I'm gonna haul butt on this kid vid and just if you got kids, I've got a daughter. She's 6 years old now. School is a daily part of my life. It is a big deal, and I'm finding out all these things that all the different kids like and their gifts and all kinds of stuff. We did a Chinese New Year parade. The kids all dressed up and marched around the school into different classrooms singing Gung Hei Fat Choi, and it warmed the cockles of my heart. So that was really fun. But, there's a lot of great kid vid out there. One that the boys all love is Paw Patrol. And I've never quite gotten it, but I know a lot of boys that love it. We got a Possum collection now. 3 DVD gift set, which includes Sports Day, Meet Everest, and On the Case. We've talked about all of those previously, and I don't know why they chose those, but it's a nice gift set. It's good for a birthday. You know, you got a birthday party coming up. A little boy will absolutely love that. That'll be fantastic. We try to give books, but, you know, DVDs are sometimes good, too. Shimmer and Shine, love them. Basically kind of a spin-off of the aesthetic of the Bubble Guppies, except there's little genies, and I love little genies because I always think about Barbara Eden. Fight of the Zaracorns is this one, also from Nickelodeon. Just a bunch of new episodes. Zaracorn Tickles and Zaracorn Salon, the Dragon Zaracorn. It's fine. It's cute. It's not great, but I enjoy it for the Barbara Eden factor. Little animated kind of tribute in my head. Robot Riders is an installment of Blaze and the Monster Machines that tries to take a page from the Transformers. It's pretty shameless, to be honest. But I guess for little kids who are too young for Transformers, this is like why not use Blaze as a vehicle to do that? I got 4 episodes here, including Robots in Space, which is kind of ridiculous, but I guess it's fun for boys of a certain age. Peter Rabbit Springtime Collection 2 DVD gift set. Also good for the kids for birthday party or whatever. You know, the Peter Rabbit, the live-action-ish Peter Rabbit that came out about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Yeah. Horrible, just dreadful movie. No. This animated show is much more faithful to the books and really kind of charming, and I still like it. It's really, really well animated. And you kind of can't go wrong here. I think boys and girls would thoroughly enjoy that one. That show's been a thing for a while and will continue to be so. Also from Nickelodeon, another Paw Patrol, Pups Save Puplantis. It's reaching a little bit. Yeah, well, it's the Aquaman thing, right? Yeah. See, that's what they do. It's with like Transformers and Aquaman, whatever's in the zeitgeist, whatever the popular culture is doing. These writers, they're like, let's piggyback on that.
I'm amazed that they can get the animation done so quickly. I guess it's not because it used to take a long time.
It used to take a long time, but now that everything is CG, it's all 3D rendered and modeled already. So they're working with the models. Yeah, you don't have to draw everything from scratch. It's sitting there on a hard drive, a complete little 3-dimensional dog. You just need to move it around and apply the clothes and whatever other things you're going to add to it. It's still work. It's still animation. Yeah. But you're working with a skeleton that in 2D animation didn't exist before.
Yeah, you're not starting at zero with a piece of white paper and a pencil.
That's it. Yeah. Power Rangers. Keep on coming with these things. This is not just Power Rangers. This is the complete season because these things now only last a season. Power Rangers have gotten to a place where they just burn out every new concept in one season. So this is the complete season, not of Ninja Steel, but Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel. And eventually there will be Power Rangers Super Duper Dragon Dinosaur Ninja Steel. And I'm sure it'll be all kinds of other things. So I still don't really understand the difference between all the different Power Ranger teams, but whatever. There's like an evil baddie with all kinds of gear and costumes, and these guys put gear and costumes on, and there's a lot of electrical flames and whatnot, and somebody says, the Bugaloos, and I love it. Really, Power Rangers are just Bugaloos. Yeah, they're just Bugaloos with the cooler costumes, and all the villains are still Martha Ray.
And Bugaloos on diets.
Anyway, we're dating ourselves with that one. Here's a cool little thing. So I thought this would be really stupid, but it's not. Odd Sock Eaters. Odd Sock Eaters is it's a puppet thing, and they're all made from puppets. And the concept here is a little bit kind of creepy. These are based on books, actually, by an author named Pavel Srut, who I guess is Czech or Slav, or I think Czech. Originally a Czech concept, Czech books, and apparently very very popular. I've never seen any of them. But the implementation of the concept here is really quite interesting. It's a little creepy. I wouldn't show this to like a 3 or a 4-year-old. They're going to have nightmares. But for 7 or 8-year-old kids, kind of an interesting Eastern European Czech take on puppetry. Goosebumps 2. the Goosebumps universe continues to thrive. Goosebumps 2 was a long overdue or long delayed sequel to the original Goosebumps, and it's fine. I mean, Ken Jeong is really the only decent thing about this, but we love Ken Jeong, so I'm going to recommend it anyway.
Jack Black shows up for 30 seconds at the end of the movie. It's so terrible.
It's very mercenary.
I'm like, man.
You know what? You can never go wrong with a dog movie, especially one from Grindstone. Excuse me. I've said this before. Grindstone, who has an output deal with Lionsgate and Lionsgate Premiere, Grindstone only makes 2 kinds of movies. Movies with pets, family films with pets, or just hardcore action movies with, Bruce Willis and whoever else is lying, Nick Cage, whoever is like, or Antonio Banderas, whoever's lying around needs to do an action movie.
Yeah, because one or the other is going to make money, but never both.
That's it. It's a diversified portfolio. So anyway, we got another Grindstone family movie through Lionsgate here. Got the Dove seal of approval, which they always get. It's called Skate Dog. SK8DAWG, Skate Dog. And who do they stick in this? Joey Lawrence, because he's not doing anything. And David Arquette does the voice of Buddy, who's the bulldog who rides a skateboard. And that's all it is. It's a dog that rides a skateboard. He's cool. He's like Air Bud, except he's on his skateboard and he drools.
Oh, my God.
It sells itself.
It's like we're in a time loop.
I know. Hey, we got another dog one, except this is animated. It's Sergeant Stubby, an American hero. Look, he's a cross-eyed something.
Yeah.
He's called Stubby, and it's allegedly a true story. Also gets the Dove seal of approval. And this whole thing is like a World War I story. I guess, the story of a dog that was so heroic during World War I, got decorated and saved lives and was in the trenches, and I don't know how true this story actually is.
Yeah.
If it were really true, they would have done a live-action movie instead of an animated one.
Thinking.
Disney Junior and Fancy Nancy. This is Ooh La La. I am not familiar with Fancy Nancy. We have passes to Disneyland because we have a 6-year-old daughter. So it behooves you to amortize that cost because it's a reward thing. Do something right, we'll go to Disneyland. So winds up costing relatively little per trip to Disneyland. Because honestly, if you're paying full price for Disneyland tickets, once you've gone 3 times, you might as well get passes.
They did raise their prices, though, didn't they?
Yeah, we didn't get hit with that, man. We got.
Was that for out of state?
That's everybody,
really,
because they got the Star Wars land coming.
Oh,
yeah, and they got to pay for that thing, which cost them billions. So they've upped that opens in the summertime. I'm not sure we're going to renew passes for next year because it's now super pricey.
Although I do wonder if that had a little something to do with that whole sweetheart deal. We're going off into the weeds, but they had a little sweetheart deal with the city of Anaheim. With those taxes for a while, and that went away. And here we are about a year and a half lighter in prices. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It's well, don't get me going. I think it sucks how much they charge for those tickets. It really does. Walt would be horrified. Anyway, Fancy Nancy is a character in a show I was not familiar with. They have not necessarily been plugging it to any significant degree. Usually you go to the gift shops and you see these things plugged to death. Anyway, but it's cute. I mean, it's good for girls. I'm not necessarily going to show it to my daughter because she'll want us to buy a bunch of more stuff. But it's a cute character. She's very imaginative and all kinds of really cute little imaginary vignettes, and she dresses up, and she's just a very, very sprightly young little lady. And so Fancy Nancy, we'll see how long that one lasts. On the Sesame Street end of things, got some interesting stuff here. Got the Magical Wand Chase and Celebrate Family. Both of them are fine. Celebrate Family just has 3 episodes that sort of go, installments of things that celebrate things to do with family. Siblings is a full-length episode of Sesame Street. Then you've got an Elmo's World installment called Families, and then from Sesame Studios, Marvy's Song for Dad. So that's all very, very sweet. And then the Magical Wand Case is 3 episodes, 2 of them full-length episodes, and then 1 is a downloadable storybook, Elmo and the Lost Wand. Just gives you no thematic thing tying them together necessarily. It's just very sweet and fun, and Elmo and his voice are always cute. A couple of Hello Kitty and Friends. Collection 1 and Collection 2, Let's Learn Together. This skews very young, but it's also very educational, and I can recommend this. My daughter loves Hello Kitty. We call her Miss Kitty in our house because Hello Kitty is kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. But this is, Kitty and Mimi, her sister, and they're friends, and they will take you through a whole lot of really interesting learning activities, and it is very, very easy for young kids and very educational. I hope there are more of these, frankly. As a parent, I definitely do. Go through the last few here. Wizard's Tale is an animated, again, gets the Dove series, Dove approval seal. This is an independently produced animated film, CG animated. That's sort of not terribly great. It's kids and a wizard and a dragon, and it's got some decent voice casting. Ian McShane is fine. The writer of Ice Age 2 was a writer on this. It's kind of a throwaway thing. My Pet Dinosaur is a little freaky, to be honest. It's better made than I expected it to be. This is from Uncorked Entertainment. Not for really young children, I would say. I'd say 10 or 11 before you watch this. It's kind of an ET vibe, a little bit like Baby, the old William Catt film. People Find a Dinosaur. It's kind of in that vein. Baby, Secret of Lost Legend. It's got a few rough edges to it, so I wouldn't say let your 7 or 8 year old watch it. The Little Witch is a Studio Canal production released from Breaking Glass. This is a live action film that's kind of in the Pippi Longstocking vein. If you like Pippi Longstocking, you will like this. Kids and a witch and a lot of magic and discovery, and it's all very lighthearted and nicely art directed. So that's recommendable. And let's see here. Another Ben 10. I'm getting very tired of this series. Out to launch. This thing is just continues to be sort of rehashed. It's like anime concepts in an American animated thing. Doesn't really do much for me. The Ladybug is a kind of second tier Bugs Life thing. This is also from Grindstone. They occasionally dabble in CG animated stuff. And, the voice casting is the thing here. John Heder, who's a friend, does a lovely job here. Norm Macdonald, very funny. Haley Duff, the other Duff sister, also quite good. And, that also gets a Dove seal of approval. Those Dove people are out of control this week.
Yeah, man.
And then the last one, something I am kind of fond of, is Vampirina, Ghoul Girls Rock from Disney Junior. Feel the beat. Vampirina is a cute concept. It's getting better. It's kind of coming along. A whole bunch of episodes here and bonus music video shorts. It's really cute. It's very clever. It takes the whole kind of vampire thing and makes it innocuous and enjoyable, and gives it a little musical twist. Like, Josie and the Pussycats meets a little vampire girl. Anyway, it's cute. So Vampirina, Ghoul Girls Rock. That's recommended. All right, Tim, what do we got?
Some new movies.
Yeah.
Some really, really, really super new movies. Bad Times at the El Royale. I happened to talk about this one over on the radio show on the day it came out. I rather enjoyed this wacky film. It's a caper film. Set in the early 70s, right around the time of the Manson killings. And it takes place at this hotel that's right on the border. It's one of those wacky hotels that's like literally on the border between, Arizona and California, something like that. And there's a stripe that goes right down the middle of the hotel. And on one side of the hotel, you're in California, and on the other side of the hotel, you're in Arizona. And it's funny because prices on the California side are $1 higher.
Yeah.
For everything.
And we should point out this is written and directed by Drew Goddard.
Yeah.
Who's become kind of one of the bigger genre guys in the business, co-creator of the Daredevil TV show, which we all love.
Yeah.
And, he did Cabin in the Woods. I was not quite so fond of, but he wrote Cloverfield.
Yeah.
He wrote World War Z. So he's been in the mix for a while now.
Yeah.
Came out of the JJ Factory, and I have some issues with how this film ends.
Oh yeah,
but because it kind of loses steam at the end.
Well,
but
for one thing, it opens so hot that it almost can't. It can't match the way it opens.
The first hour is pretty great.
Yeah.
It really is great, and it takes some great twists and turns. And, you know, the thing about this movie is, and especially for the 4K, why I think the 4K is really, really worth getting, is because the art direction and the cinematography is so top tier.
It's what the movie's all about.
So top
that sort
tier.
of 1972. Everybody's in it. Jeff Bridges, Dakota Johnson, John Hamm, Chris Hemsworth, and a really great performance by Callie Span. That little black. Oh,
she's great.
So
she's
good
so
in this
good.
movie. Anyway, throwback.
Kind of playing Diana Ross.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of a throwback to early Tarantino.
Yeah.
You know, part
There's
Pulp, part Reservoir. You know, a lot
of
that stuff going on. So, you know, it's not like it's not a movie you haven't seen before, but it's fun.
It's fun, but it's so the art direction, the hotel motel itself, is such a great set, and it's a set, but it's so well done. It's so retro, but it's designed for things that are going to happen later on in the movie.
Yeah,
it's designed specifically to accommodate the mayhem that is going to clearly transpire. But it also has some other stuff, like, you know, we won't get it, but where John Hamm is walking around. You're like, that is wicked cool.
Yeah.
Like, you can't find. You had to build that,
and frankly, not unreasonable for the time period.
Not at all.
This is set in. A lot of fun there. 4K. I wish there were more by way of special features on this. Not much, you know, making of and all that kind of stuff, but neat movie anyway. If you just want to actually watch the movie, the sisters, brothers. I kind of thought we might have been talking about at least the performances in this movie. Maybe John C. Reilly's, because you know he was in that Stan and Ollie movie, and he was in this movie along with Joaquin Phoenix and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jacques Audiard's English language debut.
Who
did A Prophet.
A Prophet did, which was really, really great. And this is a good movie, good solid movie. These two brothers who are guns for hire, mercenaries, really, and it is set in a time during the Old West when shooting somebody in the head was a perfectly reasonable thing to do. John C. Reilly is starting to feel a little bad or guilt or empathy or something about what they've been doing, as their work for these many years, while Joaquin Phoenix thinks he needs to just pull himself together, so that they can finish this job. I rather enjoyed this movie. I think people liked it, and I'm a little surprised that at least John C. didn't get recognized. I thought he was really good in this movie.
This is one of those award season bubble movies, and it comes out maybe a little too early in the season, gets some good reviews, gets some good buzz, and then gets completely rolled by all the heavy hitters that come out 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks right after it.
Yeah.
And you get into it like our LAFCA voting meetings, which are always very interesting. And you get a lot of love for this thing, kind of in a few categories and at the outset, but it's always on the bubble. It always kind of gets knocked down, and you wind up going through award season, and it gets nothing from anybody, gets no love at the Oscars. But that doesn't mean it isn't good.
Yeah,
it just means it was right there on the bubble the whole time. It's just sort of sitting there, kind of kissing the Critics Awards and the Oscars and everything else, and it never quite breaks through. But check it out, because it's an award season movie that just didn't win any awards.
That's all it is.
That's all it is.
Doesn't mean it's not good.
Yep.
Doesn't mean it's not good.
Yep.
Widows, a lot of people like this a good deal more than me. I appreciated it. I never thought it had a chance at any sort of Academy Award or anything, but though people were talking about it, Viola Davis, Michelle Rodriguez, Colin Farrell, and Robert Duvall. Look, it's it's sort of a neat reverse a thriller film where the ladies are the ones that have to pull off the caper now.
Because the husbands are either dead or in prison or
doing something scandalous and hiding. All kinds of stuff is going on. So these women have to figure out how to untangle themselves from these dubious men.
You know, the interesting thing here is there are two things that are interesting. So it wasn't until after I saw the film that I found out that the novel that it's based on was previously adapted into a British miniseries back in the, I guess, early 90s.
Did not know that.
Yeah, and so I went and checked that out, and that's about 5 hours long or something like that. It's much longer. It's more elaborate. Takes place in the UK, and it's got more widows. There are like 3 more widows in this. It's not just the 4 that are here, or the 3 plus the one. And that's and I don't know that it works much better, but it kind of makes more sense if that I mean, obviously you can't pack all of that story and all those characters into this, so they turn it into something else and they transposed it to the United States and gave it some different dimensions. There's still something missing, and honestly, I have no idea what it is for me. There's
Yeah.
it misses. Like Steve McQueen's direction is perfect. It really is. Like he nails this material as well as you could possibly nail it. Some of the heist stuff when you're inside the vehicles is great. I mean, it really is. It's just perfectly put together. But somehow Viola Davis is great.
Yeah,
you know,
Cynthia Erivo again in this also was in,
Liam Neeson is great.
I think I said that was Callie Spinney, but that was Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah.
And the El Royale. She's here again. All good performances. Colin Farrell, very good in here, playing the son of this politician who himself is running for.
Gosh, that is so good.
That is just a wicked performance.
It's a great performance. I mean, Robert Duvall playing his dad, right? The retiring alderman, and I mean, there's some, and the racial politics in here, I think, which are not in the original, are very, very interesting. But
you know what? I can see why this would lend itself to being a miniseries rather than a motion picture. That's the problem. Yeah. This is not a movie. This is a television series.
Yeah.
And because it was a television series. And I can see exactly what the problem is now. Yeah. This is an episodic television series, and they tried to squeeze it into a 100 and some odd minute movie.
Yeah, about 130 minutes, I think it was.
And the Widows on Masses, the Chicago story, a 3-part documentary on this, which is more interesting than the movie.
But it is. I still say, it's worth watching. It's worth watching in 4K, just because Steve McQueen is such a really great craftsman. And it's interesting now that he's trying to move into more commercial fare.
Yeah.
Steve McQueen started. I mean, let's remember, Steve McQueen is a painter.
Yeah.
He's not originally a filmmaker. He's a painter, and he's a very successful painter. And at a certain point, he decided, I'm going to try my hand at making movies.
Yeah, kind of like Julian Schnabel.
Like Julian Schnabel, exactly. And his first few movies were incredibly artsy and very slow and methodical and meticulous.
Oh, he did the one about the guy
Hunger.
that was Hunger, with Fassbender,
Michael Fassbender,
and then of course he did the other one.
And 12 Years a Slave was kind of crossing the line, right? It was still super artsy, but it was accessible. It was a more conventional narrative.
In about an actual character.
And now he's crossed over completely. Now he's just made a straight up commercial studio film, but he's given it his sheen, his style, his very meticulous way of piecing things together. I think it's an interesting film to watch, and it'll be interesting to see what he does next.
Yeah. The Hate You Give. This is a very powerful little movie that I love talking about.
She's fantastic.
She's fantastic. This movie is about a young black woman who's sort of living in two worlds: a teenage kid, the neighborhood where she lives, which is a rough, tough neighborhood, and the sort of mostly white prep school that she goes to. She witnesses a very good friend from her neighborhood being killed by the police, and it just sort of spins her world around, and she comes under all these sort of pressures to kind of choose. Who and what she's going to be.
This was a really successful young adult novel. Yeah. The young woman who wrote it, I think, was like 21 or 22 when it sold, when it was published, and won all kinds of awards for it. So it is a significant
Angie Thomas.
Angie Thomas.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a big deal as literary source material. My only beef with this is that, and it's not to do with the film, because it's an incredibly well-crafted film, but a young author is always going to be afraid to just trust the material to do a certain minimalistic thing at the end.
Mm.
But instead, this has like 9 climaxes.
Oh yeah,
It's really, really melodramatic at the end, and it really, really just kind of piles on more drama and more crescendo than I think it really needs.
Well, it's that thing. It's that thing where the young writer, and for that matter, filmmakers here too, perhaps think that they will not get a chance to do this again.
And again, director George Tillman, whom I've met because George is good friends with our friend Tina, going back to Soul Food, which is just a wonderful film. Tillman has a really wonderful way of taking material that could be too dark and making it accessible, and taking material that could be too light and making it just dark enough. Mm-hmm. He knows how to kind of hit a tone with that, and he does that here. Also worth mentioning is that the screenplay of the book was written by Audrey Wells. Audrey Wells passed away some months ago, middle of last year. She passed away, I think, literally the week this film opened, at age 58. Of cancer. Very, very sad. Audrey Wells was actually a graduate student at UCLA when I was there. She was in the same class with Alexander Payne, and our good friend Alex had her as a TA. for one of his classes, and we were all quite broken up about it. So
under the Tuscan Sun, and
she
Guinevere. I love Guinevere.
She wrote Guinevere too. Yeah. So wonderful writer, and just snuffed out right as her career was really hitting a stride again. So it's very, very sad. And there's still one more credit she has, Over the Moon. Her script for Over the Moon will be made, and that will be her swan song.
Lovely legacy, though, Audrey Wells. Just so we know that all kinds of wonderful special stuff on The Hate U Give, extended scenes, and a wonderful commentary track with George Tillman and with Russell Hornsby and Angie Thomas and everybody in it. So lots and lots of stuff on this one too that you might enjoy. Bohemian Rhapsody, there you go.
Oh boy, here we go.
All kinds of controversy around this. The one thing that's not controversial to me with respect to Bohemian Rhapsody is that Rami Malek is really good playing.
He's really good.
Freddie Mercury. And
really damn good.
That is just a given there. He's nominated, and so after that it gets complicated. The movie in and of itself, some say floats a little too gingerly over the life of Freddie Mercury. Some say, hey, no, it gets way too deep into sort of his whole gay thing.
It's like this.
Man, come on, I don't know.
Like this. I know a little bit about Freddie Mercury's life. I'm a big Queen fan.
Yeah.
This is nothing. This plays fast and loose with the facts. I don't care. Took a bunch of good Queen songs and a great performance by Rami Malek. They made a movie about it. I had fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah. And you know what? Bryan Singer deserves all the horror and hell that is befalling him.
Complicated.
But I can separate that from the movie. If you've read the Atlantic piece on Bryan Singer, it makes the Harvey Weinstein stuff in the New Yorker and the New York Times look like Candyland. It is a horror show. And
how much of this is ultimately him anyway?
Probably about 80%.
About 80%.
About 80%. He was fired with 3 weeks left to go in the shooting, and the cinematographer basically directed the last 3 weeks, and the film was completed without his involvement. And a lot of that is covered in the Atlantic piece, and they separate fact from fiction. It's so if you can separate how you feel about Bryan Singer and all of that stuff from the movie, you'll and the fact that it's not very factual, you'll have a good time. It does play fast and loose.
Well, you know how I feel about biopics.
Yeah, exactly. They're all kind of
again. Rami Malek killing this. The moments where they sort of work through the creation of these various different songs, Queen songs. It's really just a lot of fun. For one thing, they have the cooperation of the guys from Queen. So if there's anything that's true in this movie, I think it's those moments of where they're sort of saying, this is the way we came up with that song.
Look,
I think those are the true moments in the movie, and that's good enough for me.
You know what? It just, We Will Rock You Alone. That is such a great sequence. It's such a great sequence. And look, I'm nostalgic. I grew up with all that music, I remember when that song first came on the radio. I remember singing it on the school bus, man. So, yeah.
Neat movie, Bohemian Rhapsody. We'll have to see how that all works out even there. Indivisible. This is a lovely sort of Christian-based movie that's
not bad, right?
That's not bad at all.
It's not bad at all.
And I appreciate
the faith-based stuff is getting better.
Well, they've figured out a way to sort of work. Anyway, it's getting much better than it used to be. But it's a true story about an army chaplain and his wife, the complications of him being off at war and her having to deal with things along that you would probably understand, and all the kind of stuff happens in it that you would imagine happens in it. It really does live right in there with the sort of fireproofs in the war rooms and those other movies.
But it's about the people.
It's about the people, it's well made, well acted, well performed, well written.
They figured out two things, which they should have figured out a long time ago. But if the whole point of the movie is somebody is going to find Jesus and rescue themselves from a life of sin and horror and hell, I know that's coming. That's not a surprise. There's no drama in that trajectory. But if it's about people... People who, through a faith process, are just relating to other people and having struggles, and where the outcome is not a foregone conclusion, where faith is simply a part of the process, but I have no idea where you're going. Now I'm interested.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Wrap that up in some good production value and good performance. You've got me.
You know what's funny? Tyler Perry.
Yeah,
he's been making nothing but faith-based films his entire career,
but nobody calls
calls them those.
Yeah,
Medea's that funeral movie, Medea's Funeral. That's a faith based film, people. But nobody calls him it. He's been doing it his whole career, but he knows how to do it right. Anyway, all kinds of special features on these films too. It's really, really neat stuff. So if that's where you are, you're gonna want to check that out. Daddy Daycare. I remember doing the
Granddaddy Daycare.
I'm telling. I remember there's a Granddaddy Daycare, based on the Daddy Daycare, the old Eddie Murphy film. Here, you got Danny Trejo and Reno Wilson and Barry Bostwick and all these. Barry Bostwick, oh man, it's just so it's one of those kind of movies where there was a good idea for a movie and they made it, and then you know what? Let's make a movie just like it for half the money with people twice as old. And you can do that.
Oh,
it'll be okay. Whatever. Danny Trejo. Danny's getting old, dude. Gotta say,
you know what? Danny has his vegan taco business going, which seems to be working, at least in L.A. And Danny is making more movies now than he has ever made before.
Yeah.
I honestly, we get a lot of stuff in that we try to cover everything that we get in, but honestly, we get stuff that we don't even request, and I get like 2 or 3 Danny Trejo movies a week now, and it's like, Danny, where are you? How do you find the time? Seriously, Danny's making like a movie every 6 days. It's insane.
That's an interesting life trajectory. I mean, this is a guy.
He was in prison.
Who was in prison. I mean, young guy, gangs, drugs, motorcycles,
the whole
prison, the whole thing come out and starts playing guys just like himself in movies.
Which happened when he was in prison.
Yeah.
They were shooting a movie in the prison and they cast him.
I think it was American Me, if I'm not mistaken.
Might have been.
And then at this point he's playing Granddaddy in Granddaddy Daycare. Anyway, anything can happen in your life, folks. Don't
look. This is what Hollywood does to you. It takes a hardcore criminal, turns him into a movie star, and then he opens up a vegan taco stand. You can't. That's what Hollywood. And next thing you know, Danny will be given interviews about how colonics have really, really refreshed his creative process.
Oh man! This is why I moved from St. Louis to Los Angeles. This is why we came here. This is why we came here 30 years ago.
The weirdest place on earth.
The Mermaid, Lake of the Dead. This is just a perfectly decent little horror movie about a young woman who's killed, and there's a curse, and she becomes a mermaid. It has to do all that kind of stuff. Perfectly fine little film with not a whole lot on it. Kind of scary, might be interesting. Mermaid, Lake of the Dead, over there. Robin Hood, man, I got to tell you, I did not even know this movie came. Came and went so fast.
So fast.
But it's not like they didn't promote it. They promoted the hell out of it. But I got to tell you, it blew me away how fast this movie came and went. Taron Egerton, Jamie Foxx, Ben Mendelsohn, in another Robin Hood tale, a young Robin Hood tale that in some ways is exactly the same way as that Robin Hood film that came out when you and I were young film critics with Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman playing the Moor.
Yeah,
it's the same movie. I think his buddy Kevin Reynolds directed that movie.
He did.
And that movie is a mess.
And this
in all the exact same ways and for all the exact same reasons.
What so upsets me is the one that could have worked was the Ridley Scott one with Russell Crowe.
Oh, yeah.
But it went off the rails because that was the original script for that, which bears no relationship whatsoever to what they finally made, was the Robin Hood story told from the point of view of the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually,
Alan Rickman in that movie, I believe.
No,
that was the other one. That was the one that I was talking about before. Yeah,
Alan Rickman was in the Costner one. But that's an interesting idea. Where that script is, I don't know. But anyway, it wound up being the story of how Robin Hood became Robin Hood, and they wound up casting way too old Russell Crowe, who's the same age in that as Sean Connery is in Robin and Marian, opposite Audrey Hepburn,
which is at the end of Robin's life.
He's too old now to be Robin Hood. None of that made sense. So we're still waiting for our great Robin Hood movie. Until then, just watch Errol Flynn. He's good.
Wasn't this one. Deleted scene, outtakes, this, that, and the other thing on a 2-disc Blu-ray set there.
I'll hit a couple of 4Ks here. We've got Reign of the Superman from the DC Universe movie. 4K. Really beautiful. These original DC movies just look so good in 4K. The animation is sharp, and the plots are really good. These writers, I keep saying this, but these writers should be the ones who are writing the actual live action movies. They know the comics, they know the characters, and it's really, really interesting. This, of course, derives from a comic narration, from a comic narrative, and narrative in the comic books, which is really, really interesting. Which gets into it's a little bit like the current Spider-Man animated movie, Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, Spider-Verse.
Where you're combining all the different Spider-Men from all the different threads that Marvel has kind of created to open up this Spider-Man universe, all the different Spider-Men. And this is a little bit of the same thing. There are all of these different Superman figures that are part of the Superman universe that are brought to bear in this really, really interesting adventure. And it's very, very well written, has some interesting special features on it, including one on Lex Luthor. And then we also have an extremely unfortunate movie called Hunter Killer. I don't even know where to go on this. This is a Summit premiere movie released through Lionsgate, their sister company, financed by Millennium, that is just straight up Avi Lerner through and through. This is everything that Avi Lerner and Millennium have ever been on steroids. This is like Hunt for Red October crossed with, I don't know, Doctor Strangelove crossed with, every other macho submarine.
Yeah.
Zero Dark 30, whatever. It's all mashed together. World War III is imminent because there's been a coup in Russia. And in order to stop the coup, you need to get like a hardcore Gerard Butler, who's the submarine commander who never went to Annapolis. He came up through the ranks. He knows, he's down with the common guys, with the shop stewards, right? And he's got to go rogue with his submarine and go and stop the coup in Russia while another team of SEALs goes behind enemy lines and does something. The whole thing makes no sense. It's just so off the wall. And Gary Oldman shows up for some reason to yell at a few people in the at Com Central. It just doesn't make any sense. But you know what? And Common is in this for some reason. Common's an admiral.
Yeah.
What do you?
I don't know, man. Sometimes Common's people they do some kind of way. He shows up in those John Wick movies, and that's kind of okay.
He's making almost as many movies as Danny Trejo.
Yeah, and he's the voice of Microsoft, and
it's crazy. He's the hardest working man in Hollywood.
I don't see why they didn't tap him to host the Oscars.
Seriously, right?
Seriously.
Yeah.
You got nothing on Common, man. Yeah, and anyway, whatever.
Yeah, let him go.
That kind of thing. Hugh Jackman, the front runner, the Gary Hart story, 1988.
Did this tank.
It just tanked so hard and so bad. Decent cast of this thing. Hugh Jackman playing Gary Hart, and of course the incident around the 1988 election with Gary Hart had to do with him being on this boat called the Monkey Business. As he sat there,
I remember that.
Donna Rice came and sat on his lap, and a picture was taken. And this is the interesting thing. More interesting than this movie about the incident is the incident itself. What actually happened?
Yeah.
Rather than watch this movie, which is wrong, by the way. Not only is the movie a not particularly good movie, the movie is wrong. The movie gets it wrong.
Yeah.
The movie gets the historical facts of what. Put it to you this way. Guess what Gary Hart didn't do? Gary Hart did not have an affair with Donna Rice.
I know.
Most people think he did. Most people think he went down because he lied about having an affair with Donna Rice. No, Gary Hart didn't even know Donna Rice. He'd never met her until she sat on his lap that moment. That's what's true.
Yeah.
But they don't get it right in the movie.
Yeah. It was another time.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what the movie wants to show. It just doesn't wind up doing it very well.
Yeah. It's a subtle work. Anyway, filmmaker commentary, deleted scenes. Hugh Jackman got to figure out something to do when he's not playing Logan. Nobody's Fool. Tyler Perry film with Tiffany Haddish and Tika Sumpter and Omari Hardwick and Whoopi Goldberg. And it's kind of cute. It's about these two very, very different sisters. One of them, a wild child, has been messing up for a long time. The other one seems to have it all together and to be doing it well and all that kind of stuff. And then when you look behind the curtain, maybe it's not all exactly what it looks like it is. This is okay. It's funny. There's some stuff in this movie that actually made me laugh out loud. I wish it would have been more funny and a little less raunchy. The one thing that I don't care for with the sort of the new way. I love that the ladies are doing comedy in big raucous, wild comedic movies. That's fantastic. I don't think that they should always just try to do what boys do, be as dirty and as obnoxious and as foul mouthed as you possibly can. And some of that's all fine, but I don't know. I think they can get there in a different way. Nevertheless, mostly funny. Tiffany Haddish has a couple of really good gags in here. There's a couple of gag reels on this thing, as well as a whole lot of behind the scenes stuff. 2 DVD set, Blu-ray DVD set. Nobody's Fool. Tiffany Haddish and Tika Sumpter. The Guilty. I rather enjoyed this movie, which generally speaking I would have thought of as being sort of hacky, but the storyline sort of worked for me. So you got this cop who's been assigned to dispatch duty because he screwed up. He gets a phone call.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and he gets a phone call. A woman in distress. She's been kidnapped. She hangs up. You've seen this story before. This is all about though how this cop who can't go out into the field and be a cop has to use all of his techniques and his skills, but with other cops out there doing the actual work, so that he can find this woman before what will probably go down goes down. He has to think his way through it instead of shooting his way through it, and it's pretty damn thrilling. I'm always a little surprised when one of these pops up and it doesn't do all that well. But this is a neat little movie, The Guilty. I liked it quite a lot. Norm of the North, Keys to the Kingdom, a Norm of the North movie.
Another Norm of the North, because there aren't enough animated polar bear movies.
Oh, yeah. Norm, the King of the North, he goes to New York to accept the keys to the city. He gets framed for a crime he didn't commit, and now he has to clear his name and blah, blah, blah. It's actually kind of cute stuff. Rather enjoy the Norm of the North movies. That's fun. Wade, what the hell is this? Once Upon a Time Deadpool, a fairy tale twist on Deadpool 2. The whole gang can enjoy inglorious PG-13.
Here's what they did. They made a charity endeavor out of Deadpool 2. They took Deadpool 2, which is R-rated.
Mm-hmm.
They recut it into a PG-13 version, and then they added a whole new frame story to it where Fred Savage is basically playing himself, and he is kidnapped by Deadpool, and he wakes up in a room strapped to a bed that is decorated like his Wonder Years bedroom.
Okay.
And he and Deadpool have a whole ongoing conversation. And Fred Savage is, of course, the nerd supreme. Like, as Deadpool is telling him his bedtime story, his Deadpool bedtime story, and you get into the movie, it's all this self-reflexive, self-referential. I mean, honestly, if you have Deadpool 2, there's probably no reason to get this because it takes out all the swearing and all the gory stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, all the new material with Fred Savage, which they probably shot in about 3 days, if even that, which is all in one room, is hilarious.
Interesting.
And the fact that it's suddenly making fun of itself because now it's a PG version and they can't say certain things, it's so funny. So I almost don't know what to tell people. All the proceeds from this re-release over the holidays went to charity.
Oh.
So, which was a nice, like, I get what they did. It was very clever. They're sort of promoting the Deadpool franchise, bringing the movie back, keeping it in people's minds, selling me more of the other one that they don't have to give to charity, and making like this, I get it. It's pretty callow, but at the same time, no one's done this before.
Yeah, no,
really smart.
I rather enjoy the idea. Because Fred Savage was the kid in Princess Bride, right? That Peter Falk is telling the story to.
It is exactly that.
That's what we're looking at.
That's what you're looking at, and they even and it's all referencing the Princess Bride. Even makes mention of it.
I love it.
It's hilarious.
I love it.
It's super funny. So anyway, got some anime here to kind of blow through. Really interesting show. There are 2 different series that are part of this, Banner of the Stars and Crest of the Stars. Both of these are about battling this evil empire called the Ab Empire. Look, it's Star Wars. It is. It's straight up Star Wars. Both of these, the Triple Alliance, and look, it's just straight up Star Wars. And you'll see it. You're like, it's the evil empire, it's the whole thing. And if it isn't Star Wars, it's Star Blazers and Space Cruiser Yamato,
which are all Star Wars.
Which are all Star Wars. but it's really, really well animated and really well done, and some very interesting characters, and it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of it's really, really fun. So Banner of the Stars and Crest of the Stars, both of them from Funimation, both on DVD only, not on Blu-ray. Really, really worth checking out. I think those are a lot of fun. We've also got The Silver Guardian seasons 1 and 2, which is one of these. It's a little Tron-like. A couple of kids that like to play this really, really elaborate video game called Gravebuster. Anyway, one of them gets sucked into the game, and the other one has to rescue her from the game. It's a little bit like, I guess, Ready Player One. It's got some of that vibe to it as well, except it's all anime. Silver Guardian seasons 1 and 2, Blu-ray DVD combo set. It's fun. It's decent. Urahara, the complete series, only if you like the kind of preteen, teen, early tween sense of humor in anime. That's the only way you'll get this. This is just about some teenage girls who are really, really upset that their favorite hotspot, their favorite fashion hotspot, is being taken over by some aliens, and so they're going to open up their own pop-up shop and do little commercial battle with the evil aliens. Look, the aliens are it's like everything else in anime. It's a metaphor for cultural appropriation and people who are taking Japanese culture and all that kind of stuff. In that sense, it's interesting, but otherwise, it's just kind of goofy and silly. Anime-Gataris, the complete series, is also kind of interesting. This is an anime about anime. Another high school thing about a girl who's joining an anime club, and that's kind of cute. You're like, oh, she's a little anime character and she loves anime. Wait a minute, my brain is short circuiting. How does that work? And then there's some supernatural stuff, and the school's trying to shut the club down and whatever. It's okay. Not great. Just kind of sort of cute-ish. Kono Hana Kitan, the complete series. This is a fantasy thing. It's it's a little bit far-fetched for me. I didn't quite understand anything about the world it's recreating. It kind of feels a little bit like they're trying to do Dragon Inn or Dragon Gate Inn, the old King Hu movie, or the remake of it, except in a kind of a Japanese fantasy context through anime, and it's a little bit strange. And then lastly, before we wrap out the show, Kumamiko, the complete series, Essentials. Never really understood why that Essentials has to be on there. They do that every once in a while on anime. This is about a priestess named Machi who lives in this little tiny village in Japan where she's never had any contact with civilization, and she lives with a talking bear. And now she's ready to kind of work with the bear to get ready to go and tackle the big city and give us the weirdest fish out of water anime you've ever seen in your life. Does it? Again, it's very strange. I wasn't sure if I'm supposed to be laughing at some of this or not. You'll laugh anyway, but there it is. So that's that. All right, so we are, man, that hour flew by. That is it for this week. Next week, last show before the Oscars. So we'll see how we feel about that. If there are any tickets left, go to scpr.org or to the Ace Theater homepage. Yes. Tim and I will be on stage on the 17th, afternoon of the 17th. What's it, 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock is when the actual big show starts there at the Ace.
1 p.m. on the 17th at the Ace
With all
Theater.
the other critics, of course.
All the other Film Week critics prognosticating our Oscar choices, arguing with each other, hugging, loving, insulting one another. Boy, I got some zingers for some of our colleagues. I do. I already know.
You and I will be on together this time.
That's right.
We're in the same group. Yeah.
So I already know who I'm going to pick on. And it's not you.
It's Lael. I think Lael. Look out, Lael.
Oh, I'm not going to say. I already know who I'm going to pick on. So anyway, we're going to have a lot of fun. Clips, and it'll be great. Larry Mantle is a scholar and a gentleman and hosts the show in the best possible way. So it makes us look good. All right, everybody. We will see you next week.